Florida sits on an ancient ocean floor, bleaches its own coral reef, and hosts animals that weren't supposed to survive the Ice Age, let alone Walmart parking lots. From disappearing lakes to underwater statues, this state doesn't behave like the rest of the country. And once you start counting the facts, you realize Florida was never normal to begin with. Number 52. Florida is the flattest state in America. Its highest natural point, Britton Hill, sits just 345 feet above sea level, lower than many city skyscrapers. You can stand on the summit and not even realize you've arrived. No sweeping views, no dramatic cliffs, just a gentle rise in the road and a sign letting you know this is as high as Florida gets. When your tallest land feature feels like a speed bump, it explains a lot about what's coming next. 51. That flat land sits on porous limestone locals jokingly call Swiss cheese rock. Water eats away at it constantly, creating underground voids that can collapse without warning. Sinkholes are so common that insurance companies receive dozens of reports every week. Entire homes have dropped straight into the earth overnight. In Florida, the ground itself is optional, and sometimes it just decides it's done holding things up. Number 50. During the last ice age, Florida looked completely different. Sea levels were hundreds of feet lower, and the peninsula stretched nearly 100 miles farther into the Gulf. What's open water today was once dry land. Wide plains where mammoths, giant sloths, and saber-toothed cats moved across a landscape that no longer exists. When the ice melted, the change was sudden. The sea rushed back in, swallowing that land piece by piece and erasing entire ecosystems beneath rising water. Today's Florida isn't brand new ground. It's the exposed high spots of something much larger. The rest of it is still out there, underwater, quietly reminding us that Florida has already been here once before and didn't survive it the first time. And in Florida, that ancient loss never really stopped. It just moved underground. Number 49. Lake Jackson near Tallahassee is one of the strangest lakes in the state because it occasionally vanishes. When water drains through a sinkhole known as Porter Sink, the lake empties almost completely, leaving boats stranded in thick mud. When this happens, prehistoric artifacts, old tools, and even human remains can be exposed. Then, slowly, the water returns, like nothing happened. Florida lakes don't just sit there. Sometimes, they leave. Number 48. Orlando's Lake Eola looks calm, polished, and carefully planned, but it isn't a normal lake at all. It's a massive sinkhole, about 80 feet deep, sitting right in the middle of downtown. Skyscrapers ring a body of water formed by collapse, not erosion. Paddle boats float where the ground once gave out. It's Florida in a nutshell. Clean sidewalks, glass towers, and a geological void hiding underneath the swans. Number 47. Florida has more coastline than any other contiguous U.S. state, about 1,350 miles of shoreline and roughly 825 miles of sandy beaches. No matter where you are on the peninsula, salt water is never more than about 60 miles away. This is why moisture never leaves, storms never miss, and evacuation routes matter so much. In Florida, the ocean isn't nearby. It's always waiting. Number 46. Just offshore lies the Florida Reef, the only living coral barrier reef in the continental United States and the third largest barrier reef system in the world. It stretches for more than 350 miles, supporting fish, tourism, and coastal protection. But it's also one of the fastest bleaching reefs on Earth. Rising temperatures and disease are killing it faster than scientists expected. Florida's most fragile treasure is disappearing in real time. Number 45. The Florida Keys are a jagged chain of about 1,700 islands, but only 43 are connected by bridges. Those bridges form a surreal 113-mile highway that feels less like a road and more like a thin agreement between land and water. For long stretches, there's nothing but open ocean on both sides, blue fading into blue, with no shoulder, no backup route, and nowhere else to go. The most famous section, the 7-mile bridge, is the purest version of that feeling. On calm days, it's peaceful, almost hypnotic, like you're floating rather than driving. The horizon barely moves, and the world feels wide open. During storms, though, it feels different. The wind pushes, the water rises, and the bridge starts to feel less permanent. In those moments, it's hard not to realize that the road only exists because the ocean allows it to. Number 44. The waters around the Florida Keys are packed with shipwrecks. Shallow coral reefs, sudden storms, and centuries of heavy maritime traffic turned this stretch of ocean into a graveyard for wooden hulls. Ships didn't just wreck here, they stacked up, one era on top of another, just beneath the surface. In 2015, treasure hunters near Vero Beach recovered roughly $4.5 million in gold coins from a Spanish fleet wrecked in 1715, sitting just 150 feet offshore. Not buried deep, not lost to time, just waiting. Florida's beaches don't just collect shells. Sometimes they remind you how close disaster and fortune have always been out here. Number 43. St. Petersburg calls itself the Sunshine City, and it earned the name the hard way. Between 1967 and 1969, the city recorded 768 consecutive days of sunshine, a Guinness World Record. Even today, it averages more than 360 sunny days a year. That much sun shapes everything: architecture, routines, even personalities. In Florida, weather isn't background noise, it's a full-time character. Number 42. Jacksonville doesn't just have parks, it has the largest urban park system in the United States. More than 80,000 acres of parks and preserves sit inside city limits. That includes beaches, forests, wetlands, and the massive Timucuan Ecological and Historic Preserve. You can leave downtown and be surrounded by untouched wilderness in minutes. Few cities hide this much wild space in plain sight. Number 41. The Everglades isn't a swamp. It's a slow-moving river, a shallow sheet of water drifting south at just a few inches per hour. Spread across roughly 1.5 million acres, this river of grass moves so gradually it's easy to mistake it for stillness. But nothing here is idle. The Everglades filters drinking water, absorbs storm surge, and quietly regulates life across South Florida. It supports species found almost nowhere else, many of them balanced right at the edge of survival. It looks calm, wide, and unbothered, but this slow river decides whether South Florida works at all. Number 40. The Everglades is the only place on Earth where American alligators and American crocodiles live side by side. One favors fresh water, the other prefers salt, and South Florida is one of the few places that blurs that line just enough for both to survive. Canals, estuaries, and shifting water levels create a narrow overlap where these two apex reptiles coexist. Same water, different instincts, no margin for error. In the Everglades, guessing wrong is the last mistake you make. Number 39. Florida's invasive species problem is on another level. Dozens of non-native animals now roam the state, many released or escaped from the pet trade decades ago. Burmese pythons, Argentine tegus, green iguanas, Nile monitor lizards, and even spectacled caimans have all claimed territory and settled in like they belong there. Florida isn't just managing wildlife anymore. It's trying to reverse a long list of human decisions that slipped into the wild and never left. And one of those mistakes didn't just settle in, it took over. Number 38. Burmese pythons are the most infamous of those mistakes. Descended from escaped or released pets, they now number in the tens of thousands across the Everglades. Some stretch over 18 feet long. Hunters have revealed deer, bobcats, and even alligators inside their stomachs. In some areas, native mammal populations have dropped by as much as 90%. Florida accidentally built the perfect python buffet. Number 37. To fight back, the state created the Python Challenge, a sanctioned competition where hunters remove invasive snakes for cash prizes worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's part conservation effort, part survival strategy. Teams track, capture, and humanely kill pythons in the swamps. In Florida, invasive species control isn't theoretical, it's competitive. So yeah, snakes everywhere, cash prizes, and a state that somehow turned reptiles into a competitive sport. That's enough about the snakes. If we hang out here any longer, Florida's going to start asking for volunteers. Let's keep moving, because somehow the next animals fall out of trees. Number 36. Green iguanas weren't supposed to be here either. Escaped pets multiplied into the millions across South Florida. They burrow under seawalls and roads, weaken foundations, and drop from trees when temperatures fall, sometimes onto cars, sidewalks, or people. The damage became so severe that Florida now allows residents to humanely kill iguanas on private property. In most states, green iguanas are exotic pets. In Florida, they're a structural problem. Number 35. Argentine black and white tegus are large, fast, and surprisingly intelligent lizards spreading through multiple Florida counties. They raid nests for eggs, including those of threatened gopher tortoises and ground nesting birds. Trapping programs struggle to keep up because tegus adapt quickly and learn patterns. Once established, they're hard to remove. Florida didn't just import invasive species, it imported smart ones. Number 34. Even giant African land snails tried to take over. These 8-inch hermaphrodites can lay more than 1,000 eggs per year, chew through stucco, and carry a parasite that can cause meningitis in humans. Florida has fought them twice with multi-year, multi-million-dollar eradication campaigns. When your pest problem requires hazmat suits and federal funding, you're officially living in Florida. Number 33. Florida is also home to the manchineal, often called the world's most dangerous tree. Its small green fruit looks edible, but is extremely toxic. Raindrops dripping from its leaves can blister skin, and smoke from burning the wood can cause severe eye and lung damage. Beachgoers sometimes shelter under it during storms without realizing they picked the worst tree possible. Number 32. Florida takes its marine mammals seriously. The 1978 Florida Manatee Sanctuary Act makes it illegal to harass, chase, or disturb manatees in any way. Federal penalties can reach $100,000 in fines and a year in jail. Slow, gentle, and completely unbothered by boats, manatees became symbols of everything Florida tries to protect, even when tourists keep testing that patience. Number 31. Florida headlines are so unpredictable that one of the strangest drug incidents in U.S. history happened during a neighborhood crime meeting. In 1994, a smuggler's plane accidentally dropped a 75-pound duffel bag of cocaine straight into the middle of a crime watch gathering in South Florida. Residents who showed up to talk about safety suddenly found themselves standing over bricks of cartel product that fell out of the sky. No gators, no hurricanes. Just Florida reminding everyone that order is optional. So yeah, that happened. Meanwhile, Florida's smaller residents were just trying to live their lives. Number 30. Cape Coral hosts a festival dedicated to a bird smaller than a soda bottle. The burrowing owl nests underground, blinks nervously at intruders, and has taken over empty lots and road edges. The city has built thousands of artificial burrows and now supports more burrowing owls than anywhere else on Earth. In Florida, even tiny animals get their own zoning plans. Number 29. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge stretches 4.1 miles across Tampa Bay and rises about 180 feet above the ship channel. It was rebuilt after a freighter struck the old bridge in 1980, sending cars plunging into the water and killing 35 people. Today, it's one of the most scenic drives in the state, built on a tragedy most drivers never think about as they cross.
Number 28. Hidden in Biscayne Bay is a place that feels half legal and half forgotten. Stiltsville is a tiny cluster of houses standing on wooden stilts over shallow water. Built in the 1930s, it once hosted gambling clubs, rum runners, and offshore parties reachable only by boat. Today, only a few structures remain, weathered, isolated, and surrounded by open water. It's Florida architecture designed for disappearing. Number 27. Off Key Largo, divers find something unexpected standing on the seafloor. Christ of the Abyss is a 9-foot bronze statue resting about 25 feet underwater, arms raised toward the surface. Originally placed as a symbol of peace, it's now a popular dive site where snorkelers hover above it for photos. In Florida, even religious landmarks end up underwater. Number 26. Key Largo is also home to Aquarius Reef Base, the world's only permanent undersea research station.
Sitting 62 feet below the surface, it allows scientists to live and work underwater for days at a time. Inside, aquanauts eat, sleep, and conduct experiments without surfacing. It's part science lab, part pressure chamber, and entirely Florida. Number 25. In 1929, a Florida Keys lodge owner built a 30-foot bat tower, hoping thousands of bats would move in and eat mosquitoes. The bats never showed up. The tower stood empty for decades, becoming a roadside curiosity and a symbol of misplaced optimism. In 2017, Hurricane Irma finally destroyed it. Even Florida's strangest experiments eventually meet a stronger force. Number 24. In 1982, the Florida Keys briefly declared independence. Frustrated by a federal roadblock that hurt tourism, Key West announced it was leaving the United States and forming the Conch Republic. They declared war by breaking stale Cuban bread over a naval officer's head, then immediately surrendered and requested foreign aid. The stunt worked. Today, it's celebrated every year, proof that Florida solves problems with humor first and paperwork never.
Number 23. St. Augustine was founded in 1565, making it the oldest continuously occupied European established city in the continental United States. It predates Jamestown by over 40 years and Plymouth by more than 50 years. The city is still guarded by the Castillo de San Marcos, a 17th-century stone fortress built to withstand cannon fire. While much of America was still wilderness, St. Augustine was already arguing about walls. Number 22. Just north of St. Augustine sits Fort Mose, established in 1738 as the first legally sanctioned free black settlement in what would become the United States. Spain offered freedom to enslaved people who escaped British colonies, converted to Catholicism, and joined the militia. Fort Mose stood as a direct challenge to slavery nearly 150 years before abolition. An uncomfortable truth Florida history doesn't always advertise. Number 21. Florida launched the world's first scheduled commercial airline flight at a time when flying still felt experimental. On January 1, 1914, a small, open-cockpit seaplane lifted off from St. Petersburg and skimmed across Tampa Bay, touching down in Tampa just 23 minutes later. The only passenger was a former mayor who paid what would now equal hundreds of dollars for the privilege. No flight attendants, no luggage rules, no second chances. Commercial aviation didn't begin in New York or Chicago. It began in Florida, low over warm water, with nowhere to land except straight ahead. Number 20. Cape Canaveral has been launching rockets longer than most places have had suburbs. The Kennedy Space Center became NASA's primary launch site, sending missions into orbit and eventually to the moon. Apollo 11 lifted off from here in 1969, starting humanity's first trip to another world. The surrounding area even uses the 321 area code as a nod to rocket countdowns. In Florida, space travel is just part of the neighborhood. Florida figured out how to leave the planet. Everything that stayed behind kept doing whatever it wanted. Number 19. Everglades National Park is the only place in the United States where you can regularly find alligators, crocodiles, manatees, dolphins, and Florida panthers within the same broader ecosystem. Few places on Earth host that many apex and near-apex animals in one interconnected landscape. It's a reminder that South Florida isn't tamed wilderness, it's negotiated territory. Number 18. Florida's shallow reefs and hidden inlets made it a magnet for smugglers and pirates for centuries. The waters around the Keys and Treasure Coast still hide thousands of shipwrecks, many never recovered. Historians estimate billions of dollars worth of gold and silver remain unrecovered beneath Florida's coastal waters. Somewhere offshore, there's still treasure waiting, and Florida knows it. Number 17. Casadega calls itself the psychic capital of the world. Founded in 1894, this tiny spiritualist community is home to mediums, tarot readers, and healers who live and work in a walkable village surrounded by quiet woods. Ghost tours, seances, and reading rooms keep the town alive. In Florida, even the supernatural has a homeowners association. Florida will happily host seances, psychic readings, and conversations with the unseen. And then, without changing states or even speeding up,
It hands you silence, symmetry, and a place designed to slow your breathing. Number 16. Delray Beach is home to one of the most unexpected cultural sites in the state, the Morikami Museum and Japanese Gardens. Dedicated entirely to Japanese culture, it features bonsai trees, koi ponds, tea ceremonies, and meticulously designed gardens. It exists because early Japanese farming communities once settled in South Florida. In a state known for chaos, Morikami feels deliberately calm. Number 15. Sarasota hides a winter community that feels completely out of place. Pinecraft fills up with thousands of Amish and Mennonites escaping northern winters, trading snowdrifts for sunshine. They ride three-wheel bikes instead of cars, wear beach-friendly versions of traditional clothing, and quietly pack local restaurants and bakeries. No resorts, no nightlife, just routine, conversation, and flip-flops where boots used to be. Snowbirds come in many forms. Florida just happens to host the quietest ones. Number 14. Northeast Florida has its own agricultural claim to fame. The small town of Pearson calls itself the fern capital of the world. Its farms grow decorative ferns shipped to florists, weddings, and events across the globe. It's a reminder that Florida isn't just beaches and resorts, it's quietly supplying greenery to places far away.
Number 13. Venice, Florida calls itself the shark tooth capital of the world. Coastal erosion constantly exposes fossilized shark teeth along its beaches. Divers and beachcombers regularly collect black, triangular teeth from species that lived millions of years ago. You can walk into the surf and come out holding proof that ancient predators once ruled this coastline. Number 12. For all its fossils and prehistoric teeth, Florida is missing one major thing: dinosaur bones. During the age of dinosaurs, most of the peninsula didn't exist as land at all. It was submerged beneath shallow seas, more reef than continent, with waves moving where cities now sit. There was no dry ground to trap bones, no sediment to seal them in place. That's why Florida's fossil record looks different. Instead of dinosaurs, you find shark teeth, whale bones, and the remains of Ice Age mammals that arrived much later, after the water finally pulled back. The dinosaurs didn't disappear here. They never arrived. Number 11. Florida takes sports aesthetics seriously. Tampa's Raymond James Stadium features a full-size pirate ship inside the stadium that fires cannons every time the Buccaneers score. It's loud, unnecessary, and completely on brand. In a state built on pirates, storms, and spectacle, even football needs artillery. All right, we're in the final 10 now. These aren't just facts, they're the ones that explain why Florida turned out the way it did. Number 10. In the late 1800s, Ybor City turned Tampa into the cigar capital of the world. At its peak, more than 200 cigar factories operated side by side, rolling hundreds of millions of cigars each year. Skilled Cuban and Spanish immigrants powered the industry, shaping the city's politics, neighborhoods, and architecture. Long before Florida was known for beaches and theme parks, it was known for cigar smoke drifting through Tampa's streets. When the smoke cleared, Florida found something else to build an empire around. Number 9. Florida's citrus empire once ruled the world. At its height, grove owners controlled vast stretches of land and global juice markets. One citrus magnate sold his juice business, later part of Minute Maid, for the modern equivalent of tens of millions of dollars. Florida didn't just grow oranges, it built fortunes out of them. Number 8. Gatorade wasn't born in a boardroom. It started in a University of Florida lab in 1965, after researchers realized football players were losing up to 18 pounds of fluid during games. The solution was a drink packed with electrolytes designed specifically for Florida heat. It worked! What began as a medical experiment became a global sports empire, all because Florida tried to outsweat its own climate. Number 7. Modern air conditioning has deep Florida roots. In 1851, Dr. John Gorey of Apalachicola patented an ice-making machine to cool yellow fever patients. He believed cold air could treat disease. He was mocked at the time, but his ideas laid the groundwork for mechanical refrigeration. Without it, Florida as we know it wouldn't exist. Air conditioning didn't just improve comfort, it made Florida livable. Number 6. One of Florida's oldest living residents was a bald cypress tree named the Senator. Estimated to be about 3,500 years old, it predated the Roman Empire. In 2012, an accidental fire destroyed it.
The loss stunned conservationists, but scientists preserved its genetics. Today, clones of the senator grow nearby, Florida's way of keeping ancient life alive, even after it's gone. Number 5. Few Florida stories are darker than Carl Tanzler's. In the 1930s, the Key West radiology technician became obsessed with a young tuberculosis patient. After her death, he secretly stole her body from a mausoleum and lived with it for years, attempting preservation experiments. When discovered, the story shocked the nation. Florida legends aren't always funny. Some are deeply unsettling. Number 4. The Conch Republic didn't fade into history, it leaned into it. What began as a protest in 1982 over a federal roadblock slowly turned into a permanent identity. Key West kept the joke alive on purpose. Today, the city sells novelty passports, flies its own flag, and stages an annual Great Sea Battle, where locals attack a Coast Guard cutter with water guns and call it diplomacy. Florida didn't just mock the idea of secession, it realized people would pay to watch it happen.
Number 3. Once again, Fort Mose wasn't just historically early, it was radically different. Spain offered freedom to enslaved people who escaped British colonies, converted to Catholicism, and defended the settlement as part of the militia. The result was a self-governing, armed, free black community nearly 150 years before slavery was abolished in the U.S. Florida quietly hosted one of the most progressive social experiments in early American history. Number 2. Florida's strangest cryptid is the skunk ape. Witnesses describe a 7 to 8 foot reddish-brown, Bigfoot-like creature stalking the Everglades, leaving behind a sulfur and rotten egg stench. Sightings have been so frequent that Okeechobee is home to a skunk ape research headquarters. Footprint casts show 4 toes instead of 5, and Seminole and Miccosukee oral traditions describe a similar swamp-dwelling creature long before modern reports. Whatever it is, Florida's monster didn't start online. It sounds like Sasquatch with a Florida zip code and worse hygiene. Number 1. Nowhere else combines all of this. A flat, sinkhole-ridden ancient seafloor. An ecosystem where gators, crocs, pythons, and panthers overlap. Pirate gold beneath the waves. Psychic towns, underwater statues, disappearing lakes, and inventions like refrigeration and Gatorade created just to survive the heat. Florida isn't strange by accident. It's extreme by design, and it always has been.